Hi everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about Kalanchoe. Now you're seeing these plants absolutely everywhere, pretty much year round. But what do we know about how to grow these plants in our climate? Now Kalanchoes love to be in warm climates like your zone 10, 11, and 12. Even in a zone 9, they may tolerate a light frost, but they like heat. So those of us that are trying to grow these plants indoors need to think about what we're giving them for their environment so that they do well and live for decades in our homes. So let's talk about these. And I have 3 beautiful specimens I want to share. And we're going to get into the details about these. But check out all these colors that are available right now. And I'll post some images here, because there are all shades of pinks, purples, reds, whites, oranges, as well as some off-whites, some creams, and there's even a greeny chartreuse tone that you see not too often, but it does exist, as well as you see these in doubles and singles. And these plants will grow 16 to 18 inches high and wide. So let's look at the ones I have and let's talk about them, because right now we're at the middle to near the end of January, I guess end of January actually, and what we are seeing is reds, pinks, and purples because it's the ooh la la Valentine's season. So check these out, what I have here today. Now these plants can be found anywhere, and I mean anywhere. We see them in grocery stores, hardware stores, big box stores, greenhouses, so they're very plentiful. And because we see them year round now, and we see them from, the smaller pots to even miniature sizes to really large ones, there is a variety out there for you to choose from in colors and sizes. I love the minis, but there's challenges with each size that I want to share with you. So the big thing is, and I left these in their plastic shields so you can see what I'm referring to. So the first thing with these, and isn't that gorgeous, one of my favorites, is they come in these beautiful colored foil or plastic envelopes. And with these ones here, there is quite a bit of weight to them, so they've been really watered. I would say overwatered. So the first thing we're going to do when we bring these home, if they feel like that, they are not going to dry out in this plastic or tin foil. Sometimes you see them in foil. So you want to get them out of there and let them dry, because this is really heavy. So what I like to do is take them out and let them sit out for a day and dry. And then once they do that, because they're already in bloom, then you can put them in a pretty pot like this, where there's some air movement, and they can look gorgeous for you. Isn't that pretty? We're in the Valentine's spirit. And if I go through each one of these, we're going to find this one's even heavier, that it's wet. And usually you will find in the shield or the wrap on the pot, and let's just take this out, that there's even water in it. See, you can see how wet that is. See, definitely you want to get that out and let it dry. And then once again, we can put it into another pretty pot. And these are just ceramic pots for display, not to officially plant a plant in. Then you can enjoy them while they're in bloom. Here's another one. Look at the water in there. So we want to make sure we take care of that right away so our plant survives. So let's get these all out of the way. Now, what do we know about these plants? Like I said, they're normally grown in zones 10, 11, 12. In 9, they can survive a light frost, the kind of frost you get in a zone 9. And for the rest of us, these are house plants, because outside they don't like anything colder than 65 degrees Fahrenheit. They also don't like anything inside hotter than 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So for in homes that have forced heat like mine, then you're looking at keeping it above the 60 Fahrenheit, 65 Fahrenheit, and not letting the house get any hotter than 80. Now these are a succulent. The big thing about succulents here is that they don't like to be soggy wet. So you water them every other week or every 2 weeks is best, depending how wet these are. Because these ones here are slop and wet, and you can see by my finger, this is one wet plant. If we look at it, this was the worst one out of the 3. You're going to let that dry out thoroughly before you water it again. So that could take a month. While they're in bloom, you don't have to do anything to these plants other than water them and put them in preferably a south-facing, bright, indirect light window. South, west, they love. They need a good amount of light to continue to flourish. Now, to get these to bloom again, because eventually the blooms will die off, what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna give it 6 weeks of 14 hours of complete darkness. And then after you bring it out of being in 14 hours of complete darkness, it's going to take 4 months before it starts to bloom again. You're also going to want to pot these up in the fall. These plants, unlike cactus and some of the other ones, like to have some room to grow. So it's easy to take them up one size in a pot. And when you do this, you want to adjust your soil too, because you don't want them in complete potting mix. Because even to root these, they like a sandy loam to grow in. We want to use a combination of potting soil that consists of 50% potting soil, 50% cactus soil, and then add 10 to 15% of perlite to them to give them some air in the roots and help keep them dry. And you want to put them in a clay pot. And right now, when you get them from the store, they're coming in the typical green plastic pots. So that is one thing you're going to be doing in the fall, is you're going to pot them up. Now here's some other information about these plants that's really useful, and these are one of my favorite houseplants. If the leaves are showing some yellow on them, they've had a draft. If it's getting spindly, you need to pinch it back. These plants do very well with being pinched back all the time. Keep them clean and pinch off the spent blooms and stems as well. We actually have one on this plant down here. I'm going to show you. And now that this stem right here is done growing, just pinch it off and take off any dead to keep the plant healthy. If you see some bug damage on your leaves, because I mean you've checked this plant thoroughly before you brought it home, just pinch off that damaged leaf. Then you know when you get it home that you've dealt with any issues, and just really inspect them well before you bring them home, because you may see some damage. If your window, and you live in a cold climate like I do, and your window is drafty or really cold, you want to pull them back further from that window, but keep them in the bright light, because they don't like cold, they aren't going to like a draft. And you'll see even with this plant here, and this seems to be the one to really look at, we're seeing some discoloring on the edges of the leaf. So they got a little bit of frost and cold in the truck, and that's some of the signs you're going to see on these plants. So beware of that when you buy plants, as well as we've seen, like here, we're seeing some bug damage, potentially just some damage in the handling. If your leaves are soft, then it's getting too much water. So if they're soft and mushy, starting to get a bit mushy, it's had too much water. This one is feeling quite soft. So we definitely want to get this one out of the pot and let it dry out thoroughly. And then of course, when you repot them in the fall, you're putting them in clay, because that's what they do best in, and it gives them the air movement that they need to grow for decades. So there you have it. That is how you're going to care for your Kalanchoes in your home. And they are really easy. Now to propagate these, depending how you say it, the best thing you can do is take a really, really long stem. And these are very compact right now, but you're going to want to go into the leaf, into the stem, way down into the stem. And you're going to want to get a piece at least that long and snip it with good sterilized snips or scissors, and you're going to let it dry for a day and let that root, the tip, harden off. And then you're going to put it in the same mix of soil that the mother plant was in, using rooting hormone, and you're going to root it. And that will get you a brand new plant. So these are really an easy plant to grow in the home. I love having them because you can have color with these plants year round, because if yours are no longer in color, you will see some in the stores that you can buy that are in color. So if you're having a dinner party or anything and you want to make a beautiful arrangement, all you have to do is put a bunch of these together in a big container and add moss or something around them to make them beautiful, or even a beautiful window box, a wood box, and you have a table centerpiece because they're so full and lush. And look at these gorgeous colors for this time of year. Now, if you're in a cold climate and you want to put these outside, and I want to put this caveat there, you're going to keep them in a container, and if it drops below 65 Fahrenheit at night, you're going to bring them in. So you're going to have to really keep an eye on your weather and make sure that they don't get any frost, because that is a warning sign right there at 65 degrees that you will lose your plants if you want to try them out in our climates. It can be done, and they like the bright indirect light, but you're going to want to make sure if you do put these outside that they get some shade, mid-afternoon shade, so you don't fry them. That is something we need to be aware of with these. They like bright light, but they don't want to be fried in. They need a break from that bright light when they're outside, because temperatures can get extreme, and you want to make sure that they get that shade midday. So like for me, I'm in Saskatchewan on the prairies, and it starts getting hot here is usually between 11 and 4. If they're in the west, it's right up to 6 p.m. So I'd keep them in my east in the afternoon when it gets hot, and in the morning they actually could be in the west or in the south to get that bright sun. So I hope that gives you a bit of information how to care for these. I'm telling you a lot of information in really a short time span, but they're so easy to look after, and they provide you with such beautiful color that I can't see why you wouldn't give them a try in your home if you like houseplants and you like beautiful color, especially at this time of year where a lot of us have snow on the ground, and I have deer as well, as you've seen in the short, and we need something to brighten us up. And now is the time that we're starting to see the beautiful pinks, reds, and purples coming out for Valentine's Day and for spring. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know in the comments what you think.